Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Toshiba Z30T. You can find the model number of my specific version up here. Otherwise, let's just start it and go to the design and build quality. As you can see here, it can be scratched up a little bit, but I think this has to be almost done on purpose because it looks very sturdy to me. No problems here at all. Also, the lid doesn't really bend. It does a little bit, but it is plastic, so it can't be avoided, but I'm totally fine with that. The back has been done even better because it doesn't flex pretty much at all. No problems here. Very solid, still plastic though. It is maybe overall not the most beautiful laptop. Also not the thinnest, not the most compact one, but therefore with 1.36 kilograms. Very lightweight, and they have done a quite nice job. Also, nice rubber feet that protect it very well from sliding. Here we have the fan and the outtake. What this is, sorry, I can't tell you. I've never seen anything like it. If you know, just tell me. Otherwise, what do we have in terms of ports? Port for the charging, VGA, full-size HDMI, USB 3.0 with always on, combined headphone jack. Here we have the front bottom-facing stereo speakers. Here we have some LEDs, I will get to those later. And here we have status LEDs for Wi-Fi and Gigabit Ethernet. On this side here we have full-size SD card slot, whole SD fits in, that's nice. 2 USB 3.0, Gigabit Ethernet and the Kensington lock. All done, quite nice, no problems here at all. So let's open it. It can be opened with one hand with a little bit of effort though, as you maybe saw. As you can see, you will have to slightly lift it and then just be a little bit quicker. And then it actually works quite nice. One thing though that has to be mentioned, it does lift a little bit on this side. I'm not really sure why, because once it is closed, this doesn't happen. But what about the keyboard? Let's take a closer look at that. The keyboard itself doesn't look anything spectacular. Actually, in first appearance, it looked very average to me. But this changed quite early because here we have a little bit of an odd layout. This seems a little bit squished in. But once you use it for a few minutes, you will really know how well it actually works. Because we have a nice texture, not sticky, not slippery, not glossy. Really done right. Also nicely dampened buttons that make you feel like it has more travel as it actually has. This is quite nice because the travel itself isn't that great, but therefore very nicely dampened. It is maybe not the best sounding and most quiet keyboard, but it works very well because you get a nice tactile feedback, and it is maybe the sound that after a while can be a little bit annoying, but the overall typing experience is just great, and I was actually surprised that it was so good because it just doesn't look that great. Otherwise, what do we have? We have a lot of extra buttons here available that you have to use the function key for, and as you can already see here, therefore we don't have a function lock because you wouldn't be able to do this. I would like to have dedicated keys for at least volume and brightness, maybe some media buttons, not present here. A little bit of a bummer, but you can get past that. As for the trackpad, it looks a little bit bigger than it actually is because these two stripes do really nothing. Besides, as I already showed you, the 3 LEDs that are for power, battery and storage access. This one here does nothing. So we only have this as the trackpad itself that has a lot of customizability in the options, in the settings. I will get to those later in the software part. As for the trackpad itself, if you use a little bit of a more flat angle, it is very precise and can be used very nice. But if you use a little bit of a more steep angle, I think it had a little bit too much friction and wasn't the most precise. But otherwise, multi-finger gestures like 2-finger scrolling and everything else was recognized very well. And the buttons sound nice, so no complaints here at all. Just a quick recap of the design and build quality. Not the most beautiful one, sorry, but therefore a very lightweight device with a lot of great ports, a great keyboard and a very good trackpad. So let's check the display. We have a 1080p 13.3 inch IPS display with quite an extreme anti-glare, which you can maybe see here because we have this slight crystallized pattern all over the screen that diffuses the light to prevent from reflections, and this works very well. With the quite high brightness, as you can see here, it does a great job and works very well outdoors. The lowest brightness though, as you can see here, isn't really that low, but it is totally fine with me. Otherwise, I just don't like the crystallized pattern. Sorry. because of this pattern, everything looks a little bit more washed out and blurry, just not as sharp as I usually know 1080p displays. But the white therefore is very great, slightly, ever so slightly on the colder side, but I wouldn't change a thing because I like it that way. The black, and here once again you can see how well the anti-glare works because you can't see myself like in a mirror. The black is quite deep, but I don't know why exactly they did push up the gamma a little bit, because this picture in reality looks a little bit brighter than I usually know it, and the details are more visible, but therefore the picture looks a little bit flatter due to the contrast. I think they wanted to highlight the darker scenes a little bit more. This is also obvious in videos. If you watch movies and so on, you will notice that everything seems a little bit brightened up, but not really an issue. The colors are actually very surprising because they are very vivid, very bright, and actually very punchy, but not to a degree that I would say they are oversaturated. And this is surprising because anti-glare displays usually tend not to pop that much and have that nice colors. So once again, yeah, it is the only thing that I have to complain maybe about it, but it's a personal thing, is the anti-glare. It is just a little bit too extreme for my personal taste. Otherwise though, there is nothing to complain. The other attributes are great. Viewing angles are top notch. The colors are great. The white is great. The black is great. So if you don't mind the anti-glare, actually prefer it, then you will be very happy. So let's get to the sound right now. Yeah, I don't want to drag this any further. I'm not happy with the sound. The maximum volume is just not good enough. Otherwise, the tonal balance would be okay. Okay, we don't have a lot of bass. The mids are a little bit weak, but therefore the highs are quite clear. But it is the maximum volume that is just not good enough. Good enough for a YouTube video, good enough for a TV show here and there and for some background music. But if you want to do any more sophisticated stuff, I would just recommend you use a Bluetooth speaker, use your headset or anything there to enjoy it, if you know you will use it a little bit longer. That's it for the sound. As for the performance, the SSD is quite fast with 550 megabytes of read and 300 megabytes of write. No complaints here. It is not the very fastest in terms of writes, but totally fine. No problems here at all. Otherwise, what do we have? We have 4 gigabytes of RAM in this version, but don't worry, we have an 8 gigabyte version in different configurations as well, and it can go up to 16 gigabytes of RAM. And honestly, I have to say, I totally forgot that this version just has 4 gigabytes and didn't notice it at all in my normal tasks. What about the performance? As you can see here, Internet Explorer runs very, very smooth, and to my surprise, Chrome runs very well as well. Something I didn't really expect to see, because it's not always the case. And this is actually one thing that is a bit odd, because we only have an Haswell CPU here, so not the newest one, which should be a little bit inferior in terms of GPU performance, battery life and so on. Did I notice anything of that? No, because the performance itself for video editing, photo editing, normal day tasks was absolutely fine. The device itself felt very lightweight, and that got the job totally fine. And now let's get to the battery, and this is also a thing why I don't think it is no issue that we don't have on Broadwell. Because first, charging times, 2 hours and 40 minutes for a full charge, not the best value but still totally fine. But now let's get to the battery life itself. I got slightly below 6 hours, but also slightly above 7.5 hours. And I would say my average would be at about 6.5 to 7 hours. I can get 6 hours quite solid very easily. So this is a very good outcome. And the Dell XPS 13 with the newest Broadwell that claims to have 15 hours of screen of use got me like 6.5. I get 7.5 with this one that claims 12 hours. Okay, both of these values are a little bit unrealistic for me, but this has actually the better life with pretty much the same performance. So no, Broadwell is no issue. In terms of heat, also quite fine. I could use it on my labs. It never got really warm because the fans start spinning quite early, and I noticed this also on this device. For about 80% of all the time, even in light to moderate use, the fans were spinning. But I also have to note, we are in the summer right now or close to it, and the temperatures have risen. And this is noticeable because even other devices that usually don't use the fan do it now as well. So I guess if I would have reviewed this device like a month earlier, I wouldn't have this noise of the fans. But therefore, in the lowest spinning rotation of 3600 RPMs, it is quite subtle. You can hear it now. And after a while, you actually don't notice it. Maybe it's even the second step right now because of all the light. It is even warmer right now. Usually it has like 3 steps. The lowest one is 3600 RPM. Then we have 4800 and 5200, which is the maximum. No throttling at all, no problems here at all. The highest volume though was a little bit whiny and noisy. Not really loud, but a little bit noisy. Otherwise, the volume was fine. And I can't really say if it's a really loud device or often loud or not, just because of the temperatures. I would say it is quite good in terms of noise, especially since the lowest mode is totally acceptable and you will get used to it quite early. As for the software, okay, one thing I mentioned earlier was the great mousepad software, the trackpad software. So let's check that one just again. Here we have a lot of different options. Sorry, they are in German here, but you have 3 finger gestures, 4 finger gestures with some extra customization. You have touchpad software, you have left click, you have actions for the edges here. You have an easy launcher. You can customize this area here. Here you have also a lot more actions. You can see you also get a touch guard. You get edge actions. So all this makes the trackpad software very, very powerful. Otherwise, Windows 8.1, as you know it, there is a lot bloat on the home screen, but you can get rid of all of that, so no problems here at all. So let's get to the recap then. Design and build quality, maybe not the most beautiful, thin and compact one, but therefore very lightweight. Great amount of ports, very, very lightweight. So actually quite good, and it is sturdy enough. I don't see any issue here. Why it's so scratched up, I don't know. Display, if not for the extreme anti-glare, this would have been an amazing display because the qualities itself are top notch. If you like anti-glare, you would definitely love this display. I don't like anti-glare so much. With matte I would be okay, but with this extreme anti-glare, not that happy. I could get used to it maybe over time, but I don't know. Sound though was the weakest part here, quite low in terms of maximum volume. Otherwise the sound would have been okay. If it would have been just at least 20% loud, I would have been totally happy. The performance though, no complaints here at all. Very fast, very lightweight feeling, capable of all the tasks, no hassle. As I said already, no problems here at all. Because I said it, battery life and performance can easily match up the Broadwell CPU. Maybe it's the GPU that is a little bit weaker, but at least in my normal use, not playing games, I didn't notice. And I don't think the little bit that the new Broadwell has a better GPU will make enough of a difference in games, because it's still not meant to be for gaming. So, battery life, I already said it, awesome. Really, really great, fantastic battery life. Heat, also very good. The one thing you have to keep in mind though, if you use your labs here, don't block this fan, because otherwise it will spin up quite early. But in my normal use, I actually managed to avoid that to happen. Noise, yeah. A little bit noisy from time to time, not the most quiet one, but as I already said, it's getting warm here, so a little bit hard to tell. I still think it is slightly above average in this term as well. And for the software, the only thing that has to be mentioned as a highlight here is the really great software for the trackpad. That's it. Otherwise, is it recommendable? If not for the display and for the sound, I would definitely say yes. If you like anti-glare and if you don't mind a quite low volume, you will be really, really happy with this device, because there are different configurations. If you need even more power, i7, more gigabytes of RAM, different storage solutions, because the SSD is very, very fast. It is super lightweight. Okay, it is no looker, but if they would have just improved the sound and used the glare display, at least gave me the option, and this would be a really, really compelling device. Otherwise, you know the pros and cons. I've said pretty much all already. So I hope this was a help for you. If you like this review, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe and reshare this video. Do whatever you want. If you have any questions left, just tell them in the comments. But please think of the fact that I should be able to reply. Sometimes I'm not for some reason. So, okay, until next time, bye.